Hey folks, Glenn May here with BassResource.com, and one of the questions I see a lot on the forums, and I get a lot of emails about, people wanting me to do a video on this, is how to cull. More importantly, what is the equipment that I use, and what's the methodology that we go through when we're culling fish. Now, my wife and I, we fish a lot of tournaments. We've been doing it for a long time now, so we've gone through an iterative process of creating this way that we cull that works really well for us. And I've been doing it personally for decades and decades and decades. I don't want to tell you how many decades, but over the course of trial and error, we've put together a system that works really well for us. So let me walk you through that. Maybe you'll pick up a few tips on your own that you can apply to your own style of fishing. So the first thing I want to do is talk to you about the equipment. What I use one of these here, okay? This is by, I'm not sure who makes this. I want to say Ardent. I believe it's Ardent. We're not sponsored by these folks at all. I'm not connected to them in any way. So this isn't a sales pitch, but this is the one I use. And the reason being, let me walk you through. First of all, I'm using one of these here, one of these clips. This is what you normally see on a stringer. Not using the kind of clip that latches onto the lower lip of the fish. And there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, I've discovered that those don't stay on very well. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't, and oftentimes, I got tired of opening up the live well lid and seeing 3 or 4 of these tags sitting on the bottom of the live well, and then I got to reweigh all the fish and retag them all over again. They just didn't seem to hang on very well, and I've tried several different types, thinking that maybe it was the design that I had that was wrong, and I've come across the right one, but I never did find one that actually really worked that well. In addition, I've heard some people say that it causes infections and sores on their lips. And I've caught fish that have had that. I can't say that that's the cause or that's the reason why. But when you think about it, if you had a clamp vice grip stuck to your lip for 8 hours or more during the day, at the very least that's going to leave a mark. But with the loss of circulation, that could cause some damage, at the very least short term, and I don't know if it's going to cause any other damage that some people claim it does. But you don't really want to damage the fish. That's not the idea. That said, this could damage the fish as well. You got to be careful with it. What you do, first of all, I don't stick it through the fish's mouth, through his jaw. I don't poke him with it. I don't want to cause another spot where he can get an infection. So don't jam it through his jaw. What I do is I put it up through the gill plate. Now, before you freak out, let me explain to you how that works. You've got to put it on the very outermost part, right next to the gill plate, and slide it up that part up to the jaw. Do not ever put it between the gills. Okay, you don't want to slide this between the gills. What happens is if you get this along the gill plate like you're supposed to, it actually goes up right near the jaw, away from the gills, and then this part is buoyant and it keeps it floating and keeps it up away from those gills. All right. If you put it in between the gills, you can cause damage. You can hurt the fish. And I've heard some people say, well, I don't use these because I've ruined their gills, damaged it, and they bled to death inside the live well. I can guarantee you it was because it was put between the gills. And when you have a bunch of fish in the live well, they start fighting and they wrangle around, they start yanking on these things, and yeah, you can do some serious damage to the gills. So be extremely careful. Put it on the outside part, and you'll be safe. I've never had a fish damaged by doing that, never killed one, never injured him, never even had him bleed by doing it the proper way. So just be careful when you do it. You won't have any problems. Now let's talk a little bit more about this. Look how this is connected right here. See that? That's a permanent connection. When you're looking for live well tags, make sure it's got a real solid connection down here, because I've had some come undone on me in other models. So that's why I chose that. Also, this is a cable. Notice that? It is a cable. This is not a string, a piece of cloth, anything like that. The ones that I've used that have had strings and cloth have had problems with it. First of all, the lines get tangled up in each other, and also it can get stuck on a dorsal fin on another fish in the live well. And even in their teeth, they've got those sharp little sandpaper type teeth, and those tags will get stuck in the other fish's mouth, and then pretty soon you get this big spaghetti tangled mess in the live well. It's really hard to get it all untangled. Plus, if they're using the clips like I told you on the lips, I think that's why some of them get pulled out, is because they have those cloth tags on them. So, cable. And also notice this cable, I don't think you can see it, but it's got a plastic coating on it. It's a plastic sheath. That's extremely important. I've had some that don't have that. What happens over time is, as you know, the fish are rubbing up against this, it'll start to fray and little sharp little spikes will come out, which first of all really hurt when you grab them when you're live well. You're going to spike yourself, but it also, you know, you can poke fish as well and you can cause infection points. So the plastic sheathing, that's critically important. Now let's finally work our way back up here. See, there's that connection again. I've had some of these where it's been like a plastic tube and it goes up inside the ball and it's tied off in a knot. Over time, those knots will come undone. And no matter how hard you try to tie it and get it back in shape, the knots will keep coming undone after that. It's a hassle. So don't get one that has a plastic tube that goes inside that ties in a knot. Trust me, I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And lastly, I want to talk about this ball here. Of course it's colored, and we'll get to that in a second, why it's colored. But look at this. Look at this, you got the numbers right here. And by pushing in the buttons on the side, you can change those numbers, okay, to what you want. So you got pounds and ounces. Awesome, now you can mark the fish with what weights they are. But I use that as sort of a backup system. I'll explain why, well, we'll get to that in a second. Now let's talk about the culling. This is a dry erase board. This is from another kit that I had. I've told you I've had lots of kits. So I don't even know which one this came from. Hopefully the Ardent one comes with something like this, I don't remember. Or you can go to an art store and get some dry erase board. Maybe they might have it at a hardware store, I don't know. But anyway, dry erase board, you can see it's got the colors here that match the colors of the tags. And then you want to use a grease pencil. Do not use a felt tip pen or a Sharpie. I promise you, the first time you use a Sharpie on this, a drop of water will find its way to this board, and as soon as it hits that board, it'll erase everything you wrote on it. No matter how careful you are, that always happens. It won't happen with a grease pencil. And again, you can just get these at a hardware store. You can see mine's getting down there. It's about time for me to get a new one. But you write it on here, and you won't have to worry about it getting wet. All right, so let's get through how we actually do this. First of all, when I store these in a bag, I wrap them around on themselves. Wrap it around and I close this, okay? So they're like this. This way they don't get tangled up. They're easy to get out. And during the course of a tournament, you don't want to mess with a tangled mess. So that's why I have it like this. What I do right at the very beginning of the tournament is I take one out and I put it inside my tackle storage area, hook undone. It's ready to go. Because when you're ready to put this on the fish, you got one hand with a fish, the other hand with this. It's kind of hard to get these undone with one hand. So have it undone, ready to go. Put it in the fish just like I told you, put them in the live well. Notice I didn't say weigh them or mark them. There's a reason for that. As good as anglers as we like to think we are, there's some days when we just don't get that sixth fish. So I'm not going to weigh any fish until I have to. I want to handle them as little as possible. So if the fishing's really tough especially, I'm not going to worry about weighing them. Once I get that sixth fish, now I'm going to weigh them. And first thing I'm going to do is that sixth fish, one of these is going on it because this does have a little bit of weight to it and you want to compare apples to apples. So make sure you put a tag on them first. Now weigh all the fish, and according to the color on here, you put the weight on here and you mark it on the ball here. So everything matches. Now I know when I look at this board, I can quickly see the smallest fish, 1 pound, 3 ounces say, and he's yellow. I can look in the live well really quick, find the yellow ball, grab it and look. If it says 1 pound, 3 ounces on it, hey, bingo, I know I've got the right one. That saves me from making a mistake against myself and throwing out the wrong fish. It's just a backup system. It identifies, it's a double check to make sure that I don't accidentally throw the wrong fish out. That's essentially how I do it. Then once I'm done, I take that yellow one off. Now it's unhooked. I put it back in the tackle storage area. It's unhooked, it's ready to go for the next fish. The next fish comes in the boat, rinse, lather, repeat, and that's how we cull all day long. That's how I do it. I hope those tips helped. I hope you can pick up a few of those and apply it to the way you fish. Have a great tournament. For more tips like this, visit BassResource.com.